Joe Mixon is your AFC Offensive Player of the Week, which magnifies a skill, an elite skill that this organization possesses. Plus, catching up in the locker room with a lot of Texans players as they go on to Chicago. Let's go.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we not too plugged in daily digital.
Joe Mixon, AFC Offensive Player of the Week. It is the locker room number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. I was on the scene today. I'm on the scene all the time. Be sure to follow along for the best digital coverage in the game. Appreciate y'all for coming through. I think the crazy thing, and shout out to Chillin' with Los for finally making it to a live. The night streams at 10:30. We're going to have some stuff popping. Starting next week, starting with Reaction Monday, S&L Reaction Monday with myself and Cody Stoots. So we'll get to that, but it is going to be really, really interesting to see how this whole thing plays out and how the Texans handle their business. Let's hear from Joe Mixon first. Let's hear what Joe Mixon had to say. In the locker room, he had his media availability, and I want to get into Nick Caserio's elite skill in a second. But first, here's Joe Mixon.
What do you want to do to build on that?
Yeah, man. It was a good come-out party for us, for the offense. I think that we got a lot to build on. Obviously, Coach Slow, he did a great job of keeping the balanced attack. A lot of missed yards out there that is to be had, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, most importantly, we came out with the dub, and we're looking forward to putting up another one this week. So just got to keep on doing whatever to go 1-0.
What does it mean to you?
By the NFL as offensive, AFC offensive player.
Yeah, no, that's lit. But, I mean, that's more, you know what I'm saying? That's accolade for my O-line, the whole offense, receivers, and tight ends, man. I mean, they did a big part of that, you know what I'm saying? And I just was the one to obviously get recognized. But without them, I wouldn't be in that position, man. So I'm just grateful that, I'm over here with a bunch of dogs, and they doing whatever they can, man, to make me look good.
What does it mean to you to have been able to have a game like that in your first game with a new team to help the team to a win?
Yeah, I mean, just, having a feeling of, a lot of them basically with the linemen is, put us on your back. You know what I'm saying? Let's get this thing rolling. And obviously with the pass, I thought we was very good with that, other than a few other plays, broken plays. But I felt like we got a lot of room to grow as an offense. I mean, what we did on Sunday, like that was like scratching the surface. You know what I'm saying? And I think that we got a lot to build on. Each and every week, we're going to get better and do whatever we can to, be successful. But if we're sharing the ball how we was, last Sunday, then I think as long as we're taking care of the football and executing, I think we're going to be very, very dangerous. So, I look forward to it.
Joe, Nico's told us today that you give more than just a run. You give this team energy, confidence. He said swagger. When did you kind of decide that's who you wanted to be in your career, and how important is it to you that you give that to your offense and your teammates?
I mean, that always been me. That ain't never changed. I always had that in me, since I entered the league at 20 years old, man. I always been a person to lead by example and, as a leader on and off the field, whatever I had to do, for my teammates to follow and be successful, I always done that. At the end of the day, I'm here to, be the best teammate possible, be the best player possible, and, uplift my teammates when they need it. And at the end of the day, when they getting those accolades and, breaking yardage and all of that stuff, man, I'm there to cheer them on. I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader. So when it comes down to it, everybody got their partners here, team and offense and role. And at the end of the day, you got to be the best at whatever you do, man. And I think that we got a great group of guys that's, willing to do whatever they can, man, to make stuff shake.
So all of your linemen got off the ball, but what did you see from Kenyon Green as far as hitting the second level and knocking guys on the ground?
Yeah, man, I thought they did a hell of a job all the way, collectively. It's not just about, one person. I mean, Kenyon, he definitely had a lot of great plays, man. But, I mean, across the board from linemen to tight ends to receivers, they was throwing their bodies in there and doing whatever they can, man, be physical in the run game and even going out there to, make plays and receive it, man. It's a bunch of unselfish guys around here and everybody, big playmakers. So I'm just, happy to be a part of it.
Take two more, guys. Joe, you mentioned the O-line. You also had a lot of yards after contact. Why is everything kind of working so well across the board?
I mean, I think it's more so that, the attitude and that mentality. Me and Steph talk about it all the time about how we got reservations and we late. You know what I'm saying? So we trying to go get to it. And, when people turn on that tape and they play them Texans, they not out there bullshitting. And when you turn on that tape, that's what you're gonna see. So we only gonna get better. We only gonna get more polished offensive side of it, and we just got to do whatever we can to play collectively as a team.
Like open table and resi?
Say that one more
Like
time.
open table reservations?
We got to go get it, man. Like I said, we late and we trying to go get to it. So, I mean, I just look forward to, the challenge. And at the end of the day,
Let's run that back real quick. Let's run that back real quick. We gotta provide this money quote with the attention that it deserves. Take it away, Joe. Just finish strong. This is a 40. If you thought that the Texans needed a certain mindset to get over the hump, this is it right here in 42 seconds.
Reservations, and we late. You know what I'm saying? So we trying to go get to it. And, when people turn on that tape and they play them Texans, they not out there bullshitting. And when you turn on that tape, that's what you're gonna see. So we only gonna get better. We only gonna get more polished in the offensive side of it, and we just got to do whatever we can to play collectively as a team.
Like open table and resi?
Say that one more
Like
time.
open table reservations?
We got to go get it, man. Like I said, we late and we trying to go get to it. So, I mean, I just look forward to, the challenge. And at the end of the day, we looking forward to being the best offense that we could be with this team.
Okay, that is Joe Mixon. My goodness, what an absolute elite performance by Joe Mixon at the podium. That is, or at his locker. They don't send him to the podium. That is what it's all about right there. That's what it is, for sure. That's what you want to see. But I want to bring this back to Nick Caserio, and I want to bring this back to the Texans superpower. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. So on the night stream today, I asked DeMeco about what Joe Mixon brings to the table from a physical standpoint. Is the way in which he finishes runs momentum. We'll hear what DeMeco had to say about that. Also got a chance to ask CJ about kind of being one of the old guys, caught up with Kalen Bullock and caught up with Cade Stover as well in the locker room, as well as Kenyon Green. We got three guys you want to hear from. We caught up with them in the locker room. Kenyon Green coming off perhaps the best game of his career. Kalen Bullock coming off the first game of his career. Cade Stover coming off the first game of his career. Guys who bring elements, not necessarily the stars, but guys you need on a good football team that are going to do the dirty work in different ways. We'll hear from those guys and what they had to say in the locker room one-on-ones in a sec. But first, I want to bring this back to Nick Caserio. And I think Nick Caserio's super skill, and I think the thing that Nick Caserio does that I think he deserves a lot of credit for is I think he has a very, very good ability to pivot. And whatever might be plan A, if it doesn't go according to plan, he's able to pivot. And some might say, well, you would rather your plan A work. That's not necessarily the case, and that's not necessarily how it works. There's 31 other teams trying to do the same thing you're trying to do, which is improve their squad. So a lot of times plan A is not going to work. Sometimes the player has the leverage. But Nick Caserio has done a really, really good job of being able to pivot whenever plan A isn't there. And this week is just a perfect sign of that. It's very early, but if the Texans had never gotten Joe Mixon, let's say the Texans never got Joe Mixon and Joe Mixon didn't end up here. And it was a crazy path to getting Joe Mixon because the Texans, according to multiple reports, were originally trying to get Saquon Barkley, who's also a really good running back. I would have liked to have Saquon Barkley. Joe Mixon wasn't even on the market when the Texans were trying to get Saquon Barkley. The Bengals signed Moss, and then they ended up getting they were going to release Joe Mixon, and the Texans ended up making a trade so that he never hit the market. But had the Texans never gotten Joe Mixon, what would the headline be right now? First of all, do they win in Indianapolis? I think that's, I mean, I don't want to speak in absolutes, but we can all agree that Joe Mixon was the best player on the field in Indianapolis. So do they win? Who knows? But what happened with Saquon Barkley is, while we're talking about Joe Mixon being the offensive player of the week in the AFC, Saquon was the offensive player of the week in the NFC. So we would be sitting here saying, or by we, I mean I'd be sitting here saying, damn, too bad they didn't get Saquon. That's a damn shame, man. What's up with this running back position? But they were able to pivot, much like they did with CJ Stroud, where they were able to pivot and go to that choice, much like they did with the previously mentioned example of Stefon Diggs. They tried to trade for Keenan Allen. They were able to pivot, probably got a better player, to be honest. By the way, some news out of Chicago. Keenan Allen and Adunze, they missed practice for the Bears. Adunze is not going to play. He's got a sprained MCL and he had the MRI. Keenan Allen availability has been kind of a big thing for the majority of his career. Who knows what happens there? But Keenan Allen was the original plan, and they ended up getting Stefon Diggs. And I'm not saying this to sit here and say, hey, this team's lucky. I mean, you can go around the league. And, I mean, the Cowboys didn't want CeeDee Lamb. They wanted a corner. They ended up having to adjust and get CeeDee Lamb. They didn't want Zach Martin. That's the best offensive lineman they've ever had. That wasn't their original plan. They were actually thinking about getting Johnny Football. They ended up pivoting. The Patriots, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. They obviously weren't in love with him. Sometimes you adjust, and sometimes it ends up working out better off. And if you can adjust on the go, and you're able to bring in a guy like Joe Mixon, I just think it's an elite skill. Even like on a lower level today, Desmond King. I'm kind of dating myself, and I'm actually talking about something that wasn't even in my time. This is like just sports historian type of nerdy stuff. Joe Mixon's the Billy Martin of the damn Texans. I think Billy Martin got fired 4 times by the Yankees and brought back. Desmond King's back. He got released last camp, brought back later on in the season. He got released this camp, brought back today. That's a pivot. You get rid of a player, you bring him back, he's probably going to have an impact. By the way, if you were on this stream last night, I told you that Desmond King was going to sign in the morning. There were people saying that he was bailing out. I told you. Now, Aaron Wilson gets the credit because I texted Aaron and asked him. But if you follow this stream, and you went to bed last night knowing that in the morning, Des King was going to officially sign regardless of the drama. And he was on the practice field today. You can go to @Landry Locker on Twitter if you want to see a brief video of that. But Joe Mixon's not really, that's not why Nick Caserio is getting praised. It's his ability to adjust and go to plan B. I think he deserves a lot of credit for it. I think even the Watson trade like that, they didn't get to shop around Deshaun Watson. They found themselves in a position to where the player had a lot of the leverage, and Nick Caserio set up a situation where it's basically, all right, we're going to visit with you, and then we're going to figure it out. That was a hell of a layout. Now, I think there was tampering with Watson's group. I think they went behind the back of the Texans and agreed to a contract with the Browns after the Browns were already said to be out. And I think that's the reason that some of the draft equity was sprinkled in afterwards. But the Texans were able to maximize that and get the most of what they could get. So I think there's a lot of credit that goes with plan B. Hell, you're arguing about CJ Stroud. You're arguing about Will Anderson. Hey, why don't we get both of these guys? Plan B. Now, it's going to be different, and it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this as this organization evolves and as things get more difficult, because they're going to get more difficult. Like even as all these young players get better, it's going to get more difficult. And we're really early. Like it feels like Nick Caserio has been here for damn near 10 years, because the shitty years, they felt like just a long, long time of pain and suffering. But I mean, he's only been here for 4 years. Nick Caserio, the Texans are a 5-point favorite or a 7-point favorite for the first time in 5 years on Sunday at home. And Nick Caserio, he's heading into his 4th season. He hasn't been here that long. But it's going to get more difficult, and he's going to have to make more difficult decisions as you're giving a larger chunk of the salary cap pie to some of these other players. But I look forward to seeing how Nick Caserio functions. But I do want to give him his flowers for sure. I think Nick Caserio deserves some flowers, no doubt. I can buy myself flowers. You don't have to, Nick. I will give you some flowers. Your ability to pivot with DeMeco and make the most of situations is crazy. It's insane. I mean, Joe Mixon's not on the market. You're going all in trying to get Saquon Barkley. There's a running back market that is just completely getting wiped away as you're wasting your time with Saquon. You see that the Bengals sign Moss instead of letting Joe Mixon become a free agent. And I think there's a chance he ends up here anyways. You pick up the phone and you call and you say, hey, let's make a trade to avoid all this crap. Oh, by the way, let's make him happy and let's give him an extension. Nick Caserio deserves credit for his ability to pivot. He deserves a lot of credit for that. And Joe Mixon, it's early payoff right now. Saquon Barkley winning NFC Offensive Player of the Week would have stung a little bit. It doesn't sting too much because you got Joe Mixon, who had as much of an impact on his ball club as Saquon did. It is the Locker Room, #1 source for Texans digital content. Be sure to swarm that like button. Super chats go to the front. Tomorrow, the coordinators are going to speak, so we'll speak to them. It'll also be open locker room. So we'll probably talk to like Nico Collins and a few other guys. I know Tank hasn't spoken yet. Try to catch up and get some more one-on-ones with some dudes as well. Only guy not practicing today, we already knew MJ Stewart, but Dalton Schultz missed practice with an ankle injury. I don't know what this would look like from the Texans. This could be interesting from a strategic standpoint. Now, naturally, whenever this happens, you say, okay, well, does this mean Brevin Jordan's going to take Schultz's spot, or does it mean Cade Stover's going to? I think there'll be a little bit of that, assuming that Dalton can't go, but we usually get a better grasp on Thursday, and then on Friday, we'll pretty much get the verdict of whether Dalton's going to play or not. But, I mean, we could see some more three-wide sets, more four-wide sets, more motion, all that type of stuff, depending on what happens with Dalton. But he missed practice with the ankle injury. Let's hear from DeMeco Ryans. I asked DeMeco Ryans because DeMeco Ryans likes to talk about the physicality and the momentum and all that stuff, the momentum of the way in which Joe Mixon runs. I just asked him, like, is there a certain element? Is there a certain fire?
Finishing runs the way he did. You talk about momentum a lot. Is there an extra element when you see a running back running that hard and finishing runs as strong as he was?
I think people start to get out of the way. They don't want to tackle. I wouldn't want to tackle Joe that many times, but you see just the physicality that he brings and he presents, and you team that up with how our tight ends were blocking physical on the edges, our receivers blocking physical on the edge. Like, we want to be a physical football team, but you got to go show it each and every week.
There you go. That's DeMeco. I think, and look, from someone just watching like a media type / fan thing, I think it's the biggest FU whenever you have a running back just truck the other guy, especially when it's a linebacker or a safety. I think it is a massive. You can just kind of feel it. You can kind of feel it on the sidelines. Jason asks where I'm tailgating. I always tailgate at Enough Said. Enough Said. I think you're going to have to start giving them like $25 on the Cash App, which is worth it. You get elite barbecue and it's bottomless beer. I think some people were kind of cheating the system and not donating on Cash App, but and you get shot skis, all that. Enough said is always the spot. Josh Ennis, how about that? He says, me and my wife went to Indy for the game. It's incredible to go to these road games and feel like they can win every game. It's fun as hell. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Shout out to Josh and his wife. I know they like to travel, like to have a good time in the stands. I feel that way too. And the weird thing that my biggest takeaway from the game on Sunday was I didn't even think they really played that good. That was my biggest takeaway from the Texans is I don't think this team effing really played good. And I can't remember the last time the Texans, even going back to, I mean, how you covered the Kubiak closer than I. But I can't remember the time when they won a road game or something like that, where they like a 3-point favorite. And I came away and said they won, but they didn't play good. That and then you had the guys saying the same thing. So I'm kind of with you. Shout out to Josh. Texans 22. Maybe British Brooks takes some snaps at fullback and Stover actually takes some snaps at tight end. Why? Why would I mean, look, I think there's a chance that both of them will take snaps at fullback, but with the way that Cade Stover blocked the other day, why would you do that? I could see British Brooks actually inactive for this game, but we'll see. He was actually catching passes today. He was in the line catching passes. Maybe that's all to do with nothing, but he was in line catching passes. British Brooks. He's going to eventually get some fullback reps, but I don't know that it's like anything too crazy. We'll check it. We'll keep an eye on that. You really don't get to see a lot at practice during this time. Kalen Bullock, he had an interception in his first game. Let's hear from Kalen Bullock following his first game, first interception, what he had to say. It's an interesting opportunity for him. It's kind of similar to what Kamari Lassiter went through in week one. Week one, Kamari Lassiter, you remember where he told me the story about how he and Adonai Mitchell exchanged jerseys and his mom was pissed off at him because he gave away his first jersey. Kalen Bullock had a little bit of a situation like that. It wasn't as crazy, but he almost missed out on a once in a lifetime opportunity as well. Before we hear from Kalen, let's revisit that conversation, that back and forth with Kamari Lassiter here in the locker room, exclusively on YouTube.
Was it kind of weird or cool to make y'all's NFL debuts against each other?
No, that was amazing. Me and AD go way back. Since our freshman year, we came in together, and then sophomore year we really went to battle a lot. Especially fall camp throughout the season before he got injured, and then even whenever he left to go to Texas, we're still super close. So I had talked to him earlier this week, and we was just talking reckless to each other, just talking jazz. And then during the game, it was just crazy. It's just like, man, this is all full circle because this is what we work for in college. You work super hard to obviously win for your college team, but to go to the next level. So then just for us to be able to play against each other at the next level,
serious, man.
Surreal.
This motherfucker's serious, dude.
Yeah, we ended up jersey swapping, okay. And then my mom, she was like, "Well, why'd you do that? You're not supposed to give away your first jersey." And I didn't realize that, but
get it back, send them a different one.
Nah,
throw it in some dirt, turf.
Yeah, she knows best.
At least you know where it is, though.
Yeah, I know where it's at.
So there you go. Yeah, I never really thought about that, like the first jersey. I don't know, but you get his too, so it's kind of like a give take type of vibe there. That dude's no nonsense. He's no BS. Again, that's plan B. Do you think that they really wanted Kamari Lassiter over Kool-Aid McKinstry or DeJean? Was that plan A? Who knows? But I think most people are glad that they ended up with that pick. I don't think there was a single pick, though, that they were more excited about than Kalen Bullock. Kalen Bullock was in his media scrum. He actually had a similar-ish situation to what Kamari experienced, and he's in a unique spot because now he's going against Caleb Williams coming off his 95-yard passing performance. I think Caleb Williams is going to have some moments in this game. I don't think he's like going to light him up, but I think he will have some moments. They know each other going back to USC, so he's kind of in a similar situation, and that was a large portion of the dialogue between the local media types and Kalen Bullock. You'll hear me at the end with him. Here's Kalen Bullock.
Everything. So I know we're gonna have fun out there, talk a lot of trash to each other.
Gotta ask, did you pick him off a lot in practice?
In practice, we have our battles. Yep.
Okay, and sometimes he gets you.
Yeah.
Have you had any interaction with him at all this week?
Nah, not this week. We ain't gonna talk this week. We talked last week, but this week we got each other blocked.
What was that like, kind of having, seeing him, knowing what he would become, knowing what you wanted to become, and kind of coming up to the USC program, trying to reach your dream that you both guys are living right now?
It felt good because I know the talks me and him used to have when we were in school. Every single day we used to push each other because we knew the position we wanted to be in, and we knew those guys at school, they used to look at us as those guys. So now we're in this position, it just feels good to see each other and have a lot of success.
A little obvious, but what makes him special in your book? What's the scouting report you have on Caleb?
Caleb, he pretty much he can do it all. But this game we trying to keep that boy in the pocket. Once he get out the pocket, he try to make things happen, and most time he makes them happen.
And what if some of the veterans told you about kind of just jumping in there, being yourself, and playing your game, even though it's very early in your career?
Just like that, just what you said, just go in there, play my game, be myself. They know I'm very talented, and they know I got their back and they got my back. And it's time to go out there and play fast. They know I know what I'm doing, and don't second guess anything.
And how much difference does that make, knowing that they've got your back at this point?
It makes a lot of difference.
What if you said it doesn't matter?
I got older dudes who count
cares
on
if
me,
they have
and
my
I count
back?
on them, and they know that I'm gonna go to war with them.
Would you trade jerseys with Caleb, or no way?
Nah. Probably send one after the game.
All right.
Not trading.
Get your autograph, right?
Yeah, we get each other after the game.
And you look at the film from game one, what do you have to do to stop those big plays?
What's up, Kunkel?
Stop those big plays. I'll say when Plaster, quarterback, get out the pocket, we got to match our guys in the back end. And I know that front end, the D-line, they're going to get to the quarterback. I know they're going to do their job, and we're going to do our job in the back end.
Kalen, just earlier in the process, what have you seen from Chicago's wide receivers?
Talented group, very talented group. Probably the best receiver core we're about to play this week. They got Kenyon Green, DJ Moore, and then Rome. Them three guys.
By the way, Rome, I don't think is playing. I would bet on that not happening. But my man Cole, shout out to Cole. He asked him a couple Rome questions after this, and then we'll get to the Jalen Petrie story.
And we know we about to go into a dogfight.
You got to go up against Rome when you were in college. What do you remember about his skill set, and what makes him stand out?
Rome is a guy who's very talented. Like you said, you can move Rome kind of anywhere in that receiver core. He plays slot, play outside when we played against him in college. And, he like them 50-50 balls. Rome, he go get them. I'd say very talented dude.
Is he one of those guys that makes a 50-50 ball more so like an 80-20?
In college, he did, yeah.
Did you keep the ball on the interception? Did you get to?
Yeah, I for sure got to keep it. Shout out my boy Petrie. He made sure I kept my ball. He grabbed it for me.
Were you originally not going to, and he kind of reminded you?
Yeah, he kind of reminded me. I was caught up in the moment, celebrating with my guy Kamar, and JP came and grabbed the ball for me, made sure that I kept it. Shout out him.
All right, there you go. That's Caitlin Bullock. Easy dude to like. We'll hear from Cade Stover, Hardo Cade Stover, in a second, and then we'll hear from Kenyon Green as well. Two guys kind of provide the toughness and really make the run game possible in a sec. We'll hear from those dudes. It's really crazy though. I mean, you talk to these guys, and look, I'm not old, not 40 yet or anything like that. And let's be honest, when you take like 7 years to graduate college and you carry yourself like I do, you're typically lean a little bit younger. But man, these are kids, man. Like this is a young ass team. And these are 22-year-olds, like 22. I mean, I was stoned. Well, maybe not a lot has changed, and drunk and all that. And I wasn't even thinking about what these kids are thinking about. But you see Caitlin Bullock, and you're like, damn, dude, this dude barely been able to drink for a while. And then you have CJ and Stover and Kenyon and even Stingley and Nico and Tank. It's a young squad, man. It is a very, very young squad. And it'll be interesting, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, if the team gets really good, just to kind of go back and remember, man, I remember when these kids were just young. It just kind of seems like yesterday, almost like a daughter or something like that. Sam, he says that the cheapest tickets here in Minnesota. Shout out to Sam out there in Minnesota. What is the weather like in Minnesota right now? I hate the cold weather. So I wonder what it is in Minnesota. Cheapest tickets here in Minnesota for the Texans Vikings are like $245 in the nosebleed. Damn. I've never been to a Vikings game. I like the horn, all that, but for sure. I don't. I've never been to a game in Minnesota. We went when the Super Bowl was there. It was 80 today. Damn. Yeah, it was probably in the 80s today, but it was raining. It was still pretty humid. But still, I wouldn't trade that for what they get going on in the winter. Kenyon Green. Bounce back season for Kenyon Green. It's year 3. Last year, he missed the entire season. He looks different. He sounds different. He's always been kind of accountable, but he just seems a lot more confident and a lot more in shape. And I don't think we'll ever get to a point where we say, like in a hypothetical redraft, man, drafting Kenyon Green as early as you did was a good pick. But could Kenyon Green turn into a quality starting guard in the NFL? I think there's possibility. And quite frankly, there was never a possibility that he wasn't going to be starting week 1 in Indianapolis. But how does he feel heading into week 2 against Chicago? First primetime game of his career. I'm glad you asked because I talked to him about it. Here's what he had to say in the locker room earlier today.
Getting to do it in a real game instead of practice. How'd it feel?
Blessed, truly blessed. It was exciting being out there. I was just telling my teammates while I was out there, like, I forgot how fun it was, being out there playing. So just being out there and being in the moment, the good and the bad, I was definitely excited being out there.
What was your confidence level this time around as opposed to early on in your career?
Totally different. More confidence, I trust my game, more and more each time I get out there, each time I get better.
Does it
Damian Pierce messing with him there.
Is there an added element, like as an offensive lineman? I don't even know how much you can see it when Mixon's finishing runs the way he does. Like if you glance up and check it out.
Yeah, no, that's definitely exciting. Seeing him finish runs makes you, want to finish blocks. Make sure you're doing the extra so, he can get those extra yards and, keep doing what he's doing.
First primetime game of your career, Sunday night against the Bears. A little extra juice with that.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a good show.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, there goes Kenyon Green. Much more confident Kenyon Green, for sure. And he played well. Given the circumstances, he played well. There's going to be a little bit of challenge, probably a little bit more of a challenge for Kenyon as things wear on. And I'm keeping a close eye on this Texans D line. I think when you look at the advanced stats and you take them with a grain of salt, some people just completely dismiss PFF. I don't do that. Wasn't a lot of dominance there. Now, I know I saw Will Anderson was high in the pass rush win rate. Cody Stoots was reciting all the PFF stats to me today at practice. But I am keeping an eye on this defensive line. It's really thin. I mean, you got 2 guys that you would probably be relying on that would be getting reps, not out there. So let's keep an eye on that D line and let's see how they kind of hold up. I don't know how effectively the Bears are going to be able to run the pill because they kind of struggled last week. Although I do think Tennessee, like when we look back, I think Tennessee has one of the more disruptive interior D lines in the NFL with Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. So they probably didn't make it too easy on Caleb Williams, but the safeties right now, like if we're listing concerns, I would say safety's number 1 when it comes to concerns, but I would keep a close eye on what's going on with the interior D line for sure. We got to check that out. Yeah, he grew right in front of our eyes. I mean, that's the fact. Patty says that body's chiseled. I don't know what you're trying to do. She might be trying to talk about something else. But yeah, that's what happens, man. You go from 21 to 23, 24. You tend to grow a little bit. Speaking of growing, CJ Stroud, he met with the media. I asked CJ this because I think it's weird from his point of view. It has to be to go from idolizing all these quarterbacks, and CJ's a fan, man. Like when CJ talks ball, like he is a fan of the game. He loves the game of football. And I go back to the joint practice when he praised Matthew Stafford, and then Matthew Stafford afterwards basically said, yeah, I remember coming into the NFL, and there was an array of guys that I looked up to, and now I have younger guys coming up to me, and he didn't say it's weird. He said it's cool, but he said it's a responsibility he doesn't take lightly. We only got 1 year sample size of CJ Stroud, but he's already kind of the measuring stick. Like whenever you talk about Daniels, whenever you talk about Caleb Williams, you get people talking about, can they duplicate what CJ Stroud last year? Who is the quarterback most likely to duplicate what CJ Stroud does? He always handles himself like a professional, like someone beyond his years at the podium. I just asked him, like, Stafford said it was weird. Is it weird for you? Let's hear from the veteran, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, Cade is somebody who's very selfless. He's been like that since I met him, and he's willing to do everything to win. And I think he played great in his first game. That's tough, a tough player.
We'll get the that CJ part up here. Let's get that up. I had him on.
I just watched it playing at a high level for a long time.
Here we go.
A tough player. Take hits. And really talented. So, I definitely do think that he has great things coming in his career. And I definitely do think like he'll get his rhythm going. And, it takes time. It's not something that doesn't happen overnight. You can see in every quarterback this week, I think, except for probably Baker Mayfield, who looked really good. Everybody's kind of rusty, trying to just, get those kinks out and get that rust away. And I think quarterback play will start picking up week 2, week 3, week 4, just like every year. So I definitely think he'll get his rhythm.
What advice would you give to a guy like Caleb? He was the number 1 pick. You were the number 2 pick. What kind of advice would you give a guy?
Be yourself. Be yourself. Understand whatever got you here is just good enough. You don't got to be superhero. You don't got to try to make all the plays. And sometimes the boring plays are good. But yeah, that's what the advice I would give to him.
What's it like for you being one of those guys that the younger quarterbacks lean on? I heard Jaden Daniels talk about you, Caleb Williams. You praised Stafford, and he said it was kind of an interesting feeling when people started doing that. What does that feel like for you early on, even though it's kind of a small sample size?
I don't want to say they look up to me. I would just say, like,
they do.
We're the peers. Those are my friends. I mean, Jaden is my friend for sure. And, we're very competitive. I know that he always is on my neck trying to catch me. I'm like, all right, bro, dang. But, no, that's my brother, bro. I'm proud of him. I think he plays solid, too. He'll start getting his rhythm going as well. But things like being a rookie quarterback is hard, and it's something I don't miss. But definitely something that I did appreciate while I was in it. So it's an honor to see those guys like try to catch me and try to do what I did last year and better, because I think that's what makes football so special. Is like 1 year somebody will break those records, somebody will do something special, more special than I did my rookie year, and I'm chasing after guys' second-year records, and so on and so forth. So it's a never-ending cycle of just competitive nature, and I love it. That's what football is all about.
All right, there you go. What an answer, man. What an answer. He is so elite at the podium. We'll hear from his college teammate, Cade Stover, in a second. Got to catch up with Cade. Didn't talk Michigan, Ohio State this time. Actually talked to him about it. I thought it was interesting because I asked everybody about their college. I asked him about the cheating the doc, and he said something. It was kind of at the end of my video, but some aggregators got it and stuff, and then he found himself in like Ohio State, Michigan message boards. So I just went up to him and talked to him. He didn't care. But I mean, he doesn't need to be in the Ohio State Michigan rivalry heading into the first game of his career. But I mean, the Ohio Farmer, he doesn't give a damn. He's doing his thing, and he's in there crushing skulls for the Texans for sure. I want to ask this question because once upon a time not too long ago, there was a team in Houston that never played primetime games. When the rule was that every team had to have a primetime game, they just throw them on a random-ass Thursday night. Last year, when there wasn't a rule, they weren't even supposed to play a primetime game, but they ended up getting flexed in Week 18. Now, this team has 6 primetime games this year, and you are going to get to consume every single form of primetime football this year, which leads me to this question. And we can slice this and dice this from a number of ways, because I am one of you when it comes to watching football. If the squad loses, the entire week sucks. It sucks. It sucks to go to work. You're waiting to get back on the field. It absolutely sucks. But I do like seeing the team on the big stage. I like seeing them on the big stage. Now, I also like the fact that they had a routine last year where they were able to play at noon every Sunday. Gary Kubiak joined the show, and he said that that's something that any coach would want. DeMeco agreed when I asked him about it. But the reality is when you have good players and you have a good team, you're going to be playing primetime. So here's my question. What's the best way to watch primetime ball? And I have two layers of this question. Two layers of it. Shane, I'll get to your question about Des King in a sec, a little bit later on. But what is the best platform to watch it on? Do you like Sunday night? Do you like Monday night? Do you like Thursday night? What is your favorite there? And what like from outside of just the production and what the broadcast has to offer, what is your favorite, like, just routine to be in? Like, what is your favorite? Because I have my list. I have the top four. My top four are just from the production standpoint, and then we'll go through the actual, like, physical, like, experience and all that and all the elements that you can have. I would say number one is Sunday Night Football. I don't think it's close. Back in my day, Monday Night Football was king. That was the best. There were no questions asked. It was Monday Night Football. 100,000%. It's still really good. But at this point, Sunday Night Football, right after the noon slate, right after the 3 slate, you watch Football Night in America. They go through everything. They catch you up in the league. I still like Collinsworth. I know a lot of people don't like Collinsworth. Tirico is absolutely awesome. They held him down for way too damn long. I think Sunday Night Football is the best. And then you get to go into to bed. You go to bed on kind of like a high. You wake up the next morning. The blood is still pumping. Sunday Night Football for me is number one. Not even close. I think the production's excellent too with NBC. Number two for me is Monday Night Football. I think Joe Buck and Troy Aikman are freaking awesome. I think they're a really good duo. I still think Monday Night Football is nice. I like the addition of Kelsey. I'm glad that there's no more RG3 just trying to get clips and go viral. So I still like Monday Night Football. I think Monday Night Football is fun. The only negative to it, like if we're getting into the logistics, is that sometimes it can be a long-ass day up to Monday night. You're watching the game on Sunday. It's kind of stress-free. You're probably paying attention to your fantasy squad. And then you're kind of treating that almost like a Saturday. It's almost like you have 2 college football Saturdays because you wake up the next day. It's almost like having to work on a Sunday, assuming that you have like a job where you have to go in. You go in, you're just kind of, man, I'm ready for this game. I'm ready for this game. And then when it happens, it's cool. And once you get off work, you probably go hit a little happy hour or do whatever the hell you got to do. But it does seem like it takes a little bit of time. But the other good thing is, assuming they play on Sunday, maybe the players don't love it, but you don't have to wait too long for them to get back on the field. And, oh, by the way, there's an NFL game 3 days later as well. So Monday Night Football is number 2. Number 3 is Netflix. I've never watched a game on Netflix, but it can't be worse than what they're doing on Thursday Night Football on Amazon. It's an absolute disgrace. I think Amazon needs to get out of the sports business. Al Michaels, no thank you. Kirk Herbstreit's doing his thing. He's trying to do his best, but it's almost a mockery. And I respect Al. I think he's a GOAT. He's not like a lingering guy who was never good, who's just there for whatever reason. He is one of the GOATs. And he's a GOAT in this craft. It's not like a second, third type of option. But I just think that Al Michaels, at some point, you got to know when to retire. I know that you're probably pretty much stealing money, which can't blame you for doing. But the Thursday Night Football is just trash. I find it hard to believe that Netflix is going to. And the other thing is, like, man, the Prime TV is hard to navigate. Like, it just doesn't seem like, it doesn't feel as smooth as the other apps. So I would say that. And then 4 is Thursday Night Football with Al, Kirk, etc. You don't really like your squad playing on Thursday. It's cool to watch. It's cool to consume, but it sometimes it kind of sets your squad back. So I kind of kind of not really a big fan of that at all. But from a logistical standpoint, I would say Sunday night, and from a production standpoint, I would say Sunday night is the best way to watch ball. That's just my list. Let's hear from Cade Stover. Cade Stover is going to be playing in his first primetime game. Now, he's been in large packed houses at Ohio State and at the Big Ten. He's coming off a debut in which Joe Mixon shouted him out. DeMeco shouted him out. You heard CJ shout him out. Caught up with Cade Stover, asked him about how he's feeling, what else he can bring to the table. Look at that eye of a Tiger / fullback.
Mixon gave you a shout out. DeMeco's giving you a shout out.
Yeah, it was great. Just really happy to have a role. Just be able to help this team any way I can win ball games.
Was you said you like the physical element? Do you notice Mixon finishing runs and stuff like that, whether you're on the sidelines or there? Does that create some like momentum, some juice, being someone who likes physical stuff?
I think anybody, at least for me, as far as seeing what we saw on Sunday, I've never seen somebody run the ball like that in my life. So when you have somebody running that hard and that effectively, it makes all our job really, really easy.
What else? What are the other elements that you think you're going to bring this year outside of the blocking? Obviously, the league blocking is what we're talking about right now. Yeah. Tight ends, I think not a lot of production from the tight ends in like the box score, but what other elements do you see the position group bringing?
Well, I think we do a lot of. I think that we're kind of we're going to be asked to do a million different things, and whatever it is that week, we'll do a good job at it. So whether it's catching the ball, blocking, whatever we got to do.
You played in some big night games, probably bigger crowds than we even have here, even though it's going to be a full house. Does that kind of prepare you for this situation, or is there a little extra excitement being the first time in the NFL?
I don't know. I haven't played in the night game in the NFL yet, obviously. So, I can't speak to that yet, but we played in a lot of big games at Ohio State, obviously. So, I'm excited, and I'm excited to feel the nerves of it all.
Says he's excited to feel the nerves. Doesn't Cade Stover just strike you as a dude, like one of those hardos that is in the locker room before the game and he just throws up like it's nothing and then just walks out there and crushes skulls? He kind of has that vibe to him. Just that intent. Look at this guy. You don't want to F with this guy. He's ready to go, man. That's another guy who, 5 years from now, he's going to be a massive human being. We always talk about, like, at camp, oh, this guy's gotten bigger. This guy's gotten bigger. Looks like this guy's been in the weight room. Spoiler alert, I bet you Cade Stover is freaking huge next year. I bet he's going to be absolutely jacked. He is an absolute dog. There is no doubt about that. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. Yeah, there's no doubt. He's walking to the restroom, puking, and then just like walking out like nothing happened. Just loving the nerves and all that. Like, how many people say, I can't wait to be nervous? That's what my man just said. He said, I can't wait to be nervous. That's a quote right there. The Schultz is an ankle. Didn't even really see him out there getting worked on. But yeah, Schultz is an ankle. Who knows how they would handle that? That's something to keep an eye on. We were at practice today. Other practice obs. Obviously, you had Desmond King back. Someone asked about the Desmond King situation. I don't even know what you're asking, Shane. I don't mean that like disrespectfully. I don't know what you mean. What are your thoughts on everything that went down with King? I don't know. Like, if you were in here yesterday, we said that he was going to be signed in the morning. And by we, I texted Aaron Wilson during the stream, and he was going to be signed in the morning, and it was all going to be fine. I don't know what really you're talking about, tweets or whatever, or saying it at first. I think he just probably wasn't supposed to say anything, and he jumped the gun because he was excited, and then he got pissed off because he's an emotional guy. I don't think it was anything big with Desmond King. These guys like Desmond King. For some reason, they just keep bringing him back. They can't quit him. Okudah going to IR kind of made that a little bit easier for the Texans to bring back King, but he's on call. I think he's going to get like $0.4 million to come out here and be on the practice squad. And I would say the people that are most impacted by the Des King thing, I would say Steven Sims might actually be impacted by this as much as anything, because I think Des King's one of their better kick returners. And he's also able to play corner. You're not really going to use Steven Sims on offense. So if it's kind of a wash, and there'll be times where they want Sims active, but if it's going to be a wash and you have Des King, who's been an all-pro as a return man. I know he muffed the punt in the preseason, but he's got a lot of experience and he's a physical guy, and sometimes he'll surprise you with the way in which he returns, whether it's interceptions or kicks or punts or whatever. I think this kind of impacts Steven Sims a little bit because he's a little bit more valuable, but I don't know. Like, I don't think there was any like huge drama. I think people just kind of overreacted on that. I think Dez just kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Have you talked about how Kenyon Green played and had a great game? Yeah, just played myself talking to him. Don't even know why I brought that comment to the forefront, but yeah, we literally a conversation with him and myself. If you want to like rewind a few minutes. So yeah, there you go. Let's appreciate people having to tell McAfee to his face the Texans O-line is awesome. I don't know if the O-line's awesome. I think the O-line played good from a run block perspective. The pass blocking still kind of terrifies me. I know CJ is going to extend plays. I'm still not overly confident in it. I'm confident-ish, but let's see how this holds up. I will say though, as we continue the practice obs, Laramie Tunsil's out there and he is a full go at practice. He was banged up last year and we hardly saw him practice throughout the season. But Laramie Tunsil's out there. He's full go. I would keep an eye on Mario Edwards. I'm not trying to be like some sort of body language expert, and I'm not sitting here saying that he was like on the side. But I would keep an eye on Mario Edwards in this game, just whether or not he holds up. And that's going to be something that, depth's not a problem until you actually need it. Keep an eye on Mario Edwards and how he holds up in this game and during this game. But outside of that, it was just kind of a light practice. No Dalton Schultz was the biggest takeaway. Perhaps the most relevant, along with the return of Des King. But Nick Caserio, he's got the ability to adjust. Keenan Allen, again, didn't practice today. Neither did Adunze. Adunze is not playing. Spoiler alert, sprained MCL, MRI. He's not playing. So maybe you have Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Keenan's had problems throughout his career staying healthy. I mean, last year was a really good year. The Texans liked him enough to where he was option A. When it came to bringing in a receiver. They ended up pivoting with those elite pivoting skills of Nick Caserio to Stefon Diggs, but Keenan Allen was option A. But if you just look at Keenan Allen and his missed games, last year he only missed 4, and I say only because the year before he missed 7, year before he missed 1, then 3, then 1, then 1, and then early on in the career you had 9 games missed. 15. So it's just kind of up and down. It's kind of one of those situations where a lot of times he's playing banged up too. So the games played doesn't tell the entire story of how injured he was or wasn't. So that's really what we got. That's where we're at right now. Sunday Night Football, Bears 7-point favorite for the Texans. That's kind of seems a little bit high, but we'll see. We'll see what this team's made of. Tank Dell says he's ready to go. CJ ready to go. We'll hear from the coordinators tomorrow. We'll hear from some other guys in the locker room, and we'll keep this thing going. Reaction Monday with S&L, myself and Cody Stoots, 8 a.m. on Monday, right after the post-game show right here after the game. So it's going to be a fun week. And we got a big announcement on S&L as well. If you're a Texans fan and you like consuming Texans content, I think you're going to like it. Do me a favor. Be sure to subscribe, whether you're a Texans fan or not. Give you the pulse of what's going on. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to swarm the like button, I should say.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm. And most importantly, always remember when it comes to this Texans stuff, getting the pulse of what's going on and figuring out where the hell they go from here. We're all in it together. Thanks for joining me in the locker room.
Two plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give. We got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in.